of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby? Here. Councilmember Page?
Here.
Councilmember Fitch?
Here.
Councilmember Gray?
Present.
Councilmember Clancy?
Here.
Councilmember Tracus?
Present.
Councilmember Carter?
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
I move for approval of the journal of the meeting of March 19, 2019. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Journal's approved.
It's not.
Okay. We have no bid openings, so we'll move to communications.
Mr. Chair, we have no tax compromises, zoning matters, and road and bridge matters this evening, so we'll move to other communications. Under other communications, item number 1.
Receive, file, and the issuance of a request for proposal be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 2.
Receive, file, and the issuance of a request for proposal be approved as requested.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 3.
Same motion.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 4.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 5, 5th District.
Receive and file.
So ordered.
Item number 6, 6th District.
Please hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 7, 2nd District.
Receive, file, and refer to the Department of Transportation and Public Works, the Department of Planning, and the county councilor, and that will be the order.
Item number 8.
Receive and file, and that will be the order.
Item number 9, 1st District.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 10, all districts.
This is a veto override to allow the county council to execute a contract with outside legal counsel to continue the litigation. This contract is with Bick and Kistner, and this is pursuant to an unlawful act regarding the county budget that is still being litigated in circuit court. This is a legal action that was undertaken by council members in their official capacity. Receive, file, and shall bill number 60 pass, the objections of the county executive thereto notwithstanding.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
On the motion, Mr. Chair, there are 7 ayes.
Bill number 60 is finally passed.
Item number 11, 5th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 12, 5th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 13, 3rd District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 14, all districts.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and that will be the order.
Item number 15, all districts.
Same motion, and that will be the order.
Item number 16, all districts.
Same motion, and that will be the order.
Item number 17, 3rd District.
Receive and file.
So ordered.
Item number 18.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation. Same motion through item number 25, and that will be the order.
Item number 26, 6th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, please.
So ordered.
Item number 27, 7th District.
Receive, file, and the county councilor be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, and the same for item 28.
So ordered.
Item number 29.
This is an appointment for the Commission on Disabilities. We'll hold this on the order of the agenda and schedule the committee to meet the applicants, and that will be the order.
Item number 30, Fourth District.
Receive, file, and the reappointments and appointment be approved as recommended.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 31.
Receive, file, and refer to the county auditor, and that will be the order. Please read the add-ons.
On the add-ons, Mr. Chair, under zoning matters, item number 1, Sixth District.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation, please.
So ordered.
Under other communications, item number 2, Sixth District.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 3, Sixth District.
Receive, file, and the county council will be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 4, 6th and 7th Districts.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 5, 7th District.
Receive, file, and the county council be directed to prepare the appropriate legislation.
So ordered.
Item number 6, all districts.
Mr. Chair, I believe at this point, to his credit, Mr. Crane did provide copies of the subject subpoena today. So I'd ask that I make a motion that the council approve that the subpoena be released to the public.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes.
Wasn't it supposed to be confidential?
The county council can vote to release information that has been presented to us as a body, and it's up to us to vote. But I certainly believe this serves the public interest to have the subpoena out in front of our residents and other county employees to view. I think it's the only way that it protects the certainty that the county is in full compliance. Any other comments?
So we didn't have to have any, put it on the agenda or anything like that before now.
It's the subject matter of this agenda item. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. The confidentiality will be waived and the subpoena will be released.
I think I need the abstention.
We'll record you as an abstention. Report of the county executive.
Nothing further this evening?
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
can I ask a question, since our county executive's here? I want to see if he knows, if he can answer these. Mr. County Executive, what are you going to do to ensure the impartiality and openness in complying with the subpoena as it's been presented?
Well, this is a matter that the chief legal counsel for the county is handling, and that would be a question that would, I think, best be placed to him.
So is he going to be the point person on this subpoena then?
Yeah, I'll let him answer that.
Mr. Crane?
I'm doing it. I'm doing it. I'm handling the production of the material, independent of anybody else.
Okay. Mr. County Executive, how many cell phones do you have, and have you turned them into the counselor's office?
Beyond your question that you just asked, you're getting into legal matters that I'm not going to comment upon. I'm just not going to engage you with that.
Okay. When did you become aware of this investigation?
Once again, legal matter, I'm not going to engage you on that.
Okay.
I mean, right now is not really the time for grandstanding. It's really a time for compliance, and that's what Peter Crane is going to ensure. I mean, politicizing this isn't doing anybody any good.
No, I'm not.
Or the county.
These are the questions that the media has been asking, and we have not been able to give an answer to these. So I thought maybe you'd have a good answer to these. But I guess not.
Really? Yeah, that doesn't sound like questions that the media have been asking, but that's okay.
Okay.
Not really.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Can I go back?
Yes.
I want to cast my vote. I didn't say anything, and I want to abstain on the, because I'm not sure about.
We'll record your vote as an abstention. It's still in order. Any other comments? Report of the special committees.
Please hold on the order of business.
Public forum.
We have 12 speakers this evening, Mr. Chair.
When your name is called, please come to the podium and give your name and address for the record. And please adjust the microphone so we can catch your comments for the record. And try to keep your comments to 3 minutes. First speaker.
First speaker this evening is Dan Hyatt.
Hello, I'm Dan Hyatt from Maryland Heights, Missouri. Greetings, council people. I wanted to make sure the council understood that me and everybody I know is no on the city-county merger. Better together is not. It's that simple. We'd also probably like a referendum on the ballot so that if the Better Together gets a statewide vote, then we can be on the record as saying that the county people do not want to merge with the city. We also know that, welcome tonight, Mr. Stenger. You've been missing somewhat, but we're very aware that there seems to be a trading of political favors for support of Better Together from Mr. Stenger. The main reason why I'm here tonight is to discuss the Prop P money issue, where it was very clear that the voters were asked to give money for two things. One was to give the police officers in the county police and the city police raises, and the other was to give money to the chiefs to hire more officers. It was not to hire a park ranger. It was not to fill in potholes. It was not to do anything like that. Not to give money to the jail or the prosecutor or pension for the prosecutor, simply to hire more police officers and pay them better within the county. Third thing, I wasn't expecting Mr. Stenger to be here tonight, but to me this is becoming a Boss Tweed thing of Tammany Hall, only it's in St. Louis. If anybody's not familiar, New York was run by a political machine called Tammany Hall for about 100 years, where the corrupt Democrats were cleaning New York out. I didn't say all Democrats are corrupt. I said the Democrats running New York were. I would like to ask that the council consider asking the Attorney General of Missouri to investigate the goings-on at Northwest Plaza, the ironclad lease that was not done through normal channels, and everything else, because everything seems to be pay for play. You know, you make a donation to the campaign funds, you get political favors. And this is not something that should be done. We're here to represent the citizens of St. Louis County, the taxpayers of St. Louis County, and I thank you very much for your time, and thank you all for your hard work.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Dan.
Next speaker is Tom Sullivan.
Mr. Chairman, I still have many questions about giving $240 million to expand the convention center in downtown St. Louis, questions that have yet to be answered. I have not seen any evidence as to how the $720 million spent on the dome with $180 million from St. Louis County has benefited this area or the county. The millions of additional revenue promised to local governments never came about. As I have noted, the city is now broke than ever. Same for the county. In 2011, the County Council approved $250,000 to the Convention and Visitors Commission to go toward a $750,000 party, which was part of a $2 million convention, the tab to be picked up entirely by taxpayers. The convention was made up of association executives who were supposed to bring all kinds of convention business to St. Louis. So what happened? As usual, the council did not follow up. When I tried, I got nothing but stonewalling from the CVC. All I wanted to know is if they could document what convention business was brought to St. Louis. To this day, they have refused, unless I pay them thousands of dollars. With one simple request, they said it would take them several weeks to fulfill, and I would have to pay $1,450 per week. I can only conclude the $2 million convention, including $250,000 from the county, was a waste of money. Another case of the CVC making great promises but never delivering. I've also mentioned the $1.1 million the council approved for the CVC in 2012 for a marketing initiative. Kitty Radcliffe promised this would return $88 for every dollar that she gave. In 2007, $2 million was approved for the CBC by the council for another initiative. It was supposed to return $57 for each dollar. So where is all the money that was promised? Of course, it doesn't exist. So is there any reason to believe it would be any different with the $240 million for an expanded convention center? There is not. I think the problem at the CVC could be the management rather than the need for a larger facility. Maybe some personnel changes are needed, starting at the top. As you know, I filed a complaint today against the CVC with the Attorney General's office for sunshine law violations. I'm trying to find out just what the management people are making, but the CVC wants to charge $81 and I won't pay it. What are we getting for all these big salaries? I think this is information we need to know. Kitty Radcliffe has likely become a millionaire since being at the CVC. I will again say the $240 million should go to build up St. Louis County rather than being sent downtown. There are too many needs in the county going unmet, while hundreds of millions of dollars have been sent downtown for sports stadiums. It was nearly 20 years ago that Buzz Westfall said St. Louis County was experiencing the same kind of problems as the city and something needed to be done. Nothing has ever been done and the problems have only gotten worse. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Tashonda Troop.
Good evening. My name is Tashonda Troop. I'm the mother of 20-year-old Lamar Catchings, who was found dead in his cell on March 1st, 2019 at St. Louis County Justice Center. I feel like it's very unfair and unfortunate that I must mourn the loss of my son. But what makes this even worse is that I have not received any answers from the county. Just to come to my door and to tell me that my healthy child was found unresponsive is not enough. Why did he die? What was wrong with him? How long was he sick? Why was he given medical attention? How long was he dead when they found him? Why wasn't he checked through the night? Why wasn't he sent to the infirmary or the hospital? Why was he in a wheelchair? Why wasn't he eating? Why am I grieving my child's untimely death and they can't and won't explain to me why? Wouldn't you want to know what happened to your child? Do you know how hard it is for me to sleep at night? Do you know how my heart aches for my child? Do you know how hard it is to know that your child suffered and you couldn't be there for him? Do you know how hard it is to know that your child could have had a treatable condition and he couldn't get help? Why is it so hard for St. Louis County to be transparent? Why am I standing before you today pleading with my political leaders to help me find the answers that I need? Just take a moment and put yourself in my shoes as if Lamar was your son. Wouldn't you want to know what happened to your child? Would you be able to let this go? My son, Lamar Darrell Catchings, did not deserve this. My son cannot rest in peace, and I cannot properly grieve for my child because I still have so many unanswered questions. Please help me find out what happened to my child.
Shauna, we're very sorry for Lamar, and we are not done with that issue.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
I'm so sorry for your loss, and I thank you for coming to talk to us tonight. I know that there's investigations that are underway. I would like to know when those are going to be wrapped up because we need some answers sooner rather than later. So I don't know if there's anyone here that can speak to that, but I have that question, and I know a lot of us up here do.
Yes.
We are planning to have a committee of the whole to investigate. So it's not that we are not, we have a lot of things going on now, and I know there's nothing more important than your son. And we all have expressed our concern regarding what happened. So we will be having an investigation, and we will let you know when that is. Okay.
Yes, of course, there's been, to my knowledge, I would say several deaths over there, and we want to check into all of them. And to my understanding, the reason why we really haven't had a hearing is because they haven't finished the investigation. We don't have enough information to even really have the hearing, because when we have it, we do want to give you answers, and we would like, and I think I should do that before the hearing anyway, not in the hearing. So, just keep in touch. I don't know if you're the one who called my office or somebody else, but, we'll let you know when we hear something.
Is there anyone who can answer for us when the internal investigation is gonna be wrapped up? Is that a question you can answer, Mr. Stenger?
It's not something I can answer personally, but I think that,
I think I see Ms. Childry.
I think Ms. Childers here, she might be able to answer that when it might wrap up. There's both an internal and an external investigation.
Clayton's an external.
Good evening, Councilman. Ms. Clancy, that is accurate. The investigations are still ongoing. We have had 3. We talked to the PD's office, and when we get all the information together, then we will report out as we get the information.
Do you have a time?
I can't answer for the Clayton Police Department, because when they give us their information, we also compare it to anything that we have, and then we may have to call more people in, they may have to do some more, so I don't have a time.
But for your own investigation, when will that be complete?
Our jail investigation involves information that Clayton PD also gathers. So until all that information is in, I can't just, say what's going on, because I don't know.
So what you were saying is that you are waiting for, at this point, you are waiting for additional information from the Clayton Police Department?
That's accurate, yes.
What about, do you have any, medical information?
Medical information comes from Department of Public Health. All that is gathered together as one investigation. Once all of it is done, it will all come together and we'll come to a conclusion to, what the findings are. And it will be reported.
The St. Louis County Police have any involvement or only Clayton?
Clayton only, as far as I know, just Clayton Police, not St. Louis County Police. That's accurate.
I'm sorry, but can you tell us your name?
I'm sorry. I'm Julia Childry. I'm the Acting Director for Justice Services.
Julia, what is your last
Childry.
name? Childry.
Councilman Tracus and then Councilman Finch.
Ms. Childry, under your watch, has your organization conducted similar investigations?
Are you asking if under my being the acting director, has my office specifically ever done any
Yes.
investigations into death? 2018 was my first year and we did not have any deaths, so this is the first, yes.
Now, during your tenure, director or otherwise, have you been involved in investigations of deaths at the Justice Center?
Indirectly, yes. I was not the internal affairs officer, no.
How long did those investigations take?
I couldn't answer that because I was indirectly involved in them.
So you have no sense at all how long those investigations took?
No, I'd have to go back and pull some of them to see.
Well, I'd ask you to do that and report back to this council as to the length of those investigations. Mr. Chair, this is not something that any of us should be prepared to let go lightly. I want to see that investigation concluded. I want to have that committee of the whole. This is something that screams to be looked into. And the idea that we're going to sit tight and wait on outside entities to complete their investigation is a little bit difficult for me to accept. So in that context, perhaps we should request that the chief of the Clayton Police come and give us a report as to where his organization is.
I'm sorry. I just want to make another comment as well. I take issue with the fact that you're the only one from the county who can give us any information. I would think that the county executive or somebody on the staff is looking into what you're dealing with over there, and I just want to know.
Yeah, and we are, Hazel, we are. The issue is that the investigation is ongoing and facts are developed every day. So in order for me to give you a recitation of what the facts were, for instance, that were developed this week or today, that's not something that I can personally do. That's something that, that the director can do, or, someone else who's more closely involved. And we're regularly briefed, and we have members of my staff that are working, and assisting with that cooperation as well.
That's what I was
So, yeah, and we're very involved.
That is accurate, they are.
Yeah, my chief of staff is in regular contact with the director, along with other members of my
Because we had more than
staff.
one death.
Sure, and I
That's
think
correct.
that Mr. Crane is also involved to a certain extent, and, you know, there are legal issues that have arisen, and there's a great deal of communication between the Clayton Police Department, the director,
Myself, yeah.
her staff, and some of my staff members as well. And we hope to, you know, we all hope for a conclusion to the investigation very soon, but we want it to be a thorough investigation as well. And that's why, you know, we obviously want to know what happened here, and we want to have information so as to be able to prevent further instances.
And I would just like to ask that you please communicate with the mother, because she needs to have answers and she needs to be kept informed of what's going on. So I hope that that's happening.
I have not received a call from Ms. Troop other than when it first happened, and if she wants to call me, I can give her my card, and she can, and she has called me in the past. So, and I do want to say, you know, Justice Service is taking this all very seriously. It's not something that we're taking lightly, and I will definitely give Ms. Troop my number. She's been up to the office twice to speak with me once, and our superintendent, so I will give her my number, and I will definitely talk to her.
And if I can make a recommendation, I'd recommend that you exchange numbers and contact information with her and any other family members that, and provide information that you're able to provide. I understand it's an ongoing investigation. I understand some of it's being done by a police department, but to the extent that they can have information, I think that's important.
And that is normal practice, and that has been done with all three families.
Thank you.
Okay?
Also, if you've been in communication with the county executive's office and briefed them, I would hope or wish that you could, or ask, brief us as well if it has to be a closed meeting, to let us give us, because obviously there's some information that can be we can be privy to. I know there's some things we cannot, but to not have any communication at this point, and to know that there is some communication between the county, I guess I should say, government and your department, I think we should be included as well.
Any information that I can provide, I will provide. It is an active investigation, so I will give you information that I can give.
So, like I said, any similar briefing that was done, I think we should be able to have that as well. And I understand if it has to be a closed meeting. I would ask for it for myself, but I think it should be all of us, so I won't do that. But if not, I definitely would want to have a briefing.
Any information that I can give, I will definitely give.
And we should be privy to that information.
Okay?
Okay.
Hazel, that's my question.
Okay.
She got to it before I did.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Next speaker is Natasha Troop.
I'm going to speak for her. My name is Angie Zorich.
I'm just looking.
Okay, I'm sorry. My name
know.
is Angie Zorich.
Yeah, I didn't know.
And she gave me her spot because she's very upset that Lamar was her nephew. Okay, I'm familiar with Johnny Shy. I drove him home from school when he was in high school with my son, and I knew him very well back then. And I prepared something I just want to read. But if you
can go ahead.
Are getting communication back and forth, why is no one is sharing anything with her? She has no idea why her son died or how long. All those questions that she asked, she has no answers. And it's been over a month.
Mr. Chair, for the record, can we ask the speaker to state her name again, please?
Angela Zorich, Zorich.
Thank you.
I've lived in St. Louis most of my life, and until recent years, I was unaware of the severity of the policy problems that exist in St. Louis County. I also want to say that policy reform doesn't go very far if county employees are accustomed to unconstitutional practices. And I believe that's a big problem with the police in the county jail. 3 people have died in the first 60 days of 2019. I don't appreciate the secrecy for the public. The Justice Center has failed to simply keep incarcerated civilians alive. We are talking about young, healthy men that go to jail and die. Lamar was 20 years old. Why would no one employed by the jail help him? Why did he not receive any medical attention? He was sick. It took a long time for his young, healthy heart to stop beating. Johnny Shy was 29 years old. He was taken to St. Mary's Hospital twice within the 24 hours before he died. He was literally dying. I suspect that the hospital knew how very sick Johnny was, and I will not be surprised if we find out that the county has a policy that is something along the lines of bullying doctors into stabilize and releasing patients rather than pay for proper care. Even though the statement by Julia Childry was, the Justice Center has provided quality health care. Really? He died in a pool of his own blood. And there's witnesses to that. A nurse walking by his cell, clean that up and take a shower moments before he died. I've done a very small amount of research, and what I'm finding is quite disturbing. It seems that many inmates are dying from treatable illnesses like peptic ulcers. In 2015, Sharon Dale, a 42-year-old, died of something that all he needed was antibiotics. That's it. Peptic ulcers are also contagious. And it's from, it can be from unclean water, for contaminated water. So what's going on over there? I mean, a lot of these deaths in the last few years are very similar. According to an investigation report done by the Huffington Post, the St. Louis County Justice Center in Clayton has ranked among the top 10 jails in the United States with the most in-custody deaths. In 2015 to 16, according to the report, there were 6 deaths between July 15 and July 16. 2 more occurred shortly after. There's more that I want to say about, sunshine laws, and there's no transparency here. And I'm probably should stop talking. I have more to say, but, a civilian oversight board, we have an oversight board, and it's not representative of us. We are taxpayers who pay the salaries for the people that work in that jail. And this has gone too far. Young, healthy people shouldn't be dying in jail.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Ed Golterman.
This is very tough to follow. My name is Ed Golderman. I live in Kirkwood. I fought a 10-year battle to save Kiel Opera House and won. Since Kiel reopened, it saved the St. Louis Blues hockey team. If you understand financing, if you understand how money is gathered, it has made the ownership of the Blues much wealthier than they were when they started. Every year, it makes $1 million or more for Variety. So I would say that is a regional win for St. Louis, for city and county. And I'd like you to just keep that in mind. And if I were running it, it would do many more shows and concerts and fewer banquets and weddings. The point is, or the point I'd like to move into or to change to, is that I think in some of the controversies, the taxpayer of St. Louis County, the citizens are kind of left out somewhere on the side. We get lost. The county taxpayers from all sources send $200 million a year into the city. Not to the city, but into the city. $200 million a year. And we get to go to the zoo for free. I think that you should want a return on investment, a definitive return on investment, multiple definitive returns on his investments for St. Louis County. We all hope downtown comes back. But it is a sports and casinos downtown, which doesn't necessarily help conventions. Maybe they're compatible. But I would recommend taking a look at the Zoo Museum District tax money. I think those 5 institutions have as much money as there is on Wall Street. They have not needed direct tax revenue from us for years. So if I can be of any assistance to you or your committees, I have a little energy left, and I wish you all success in serving the citizens of St. Louis County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Barbara Ann Hughes.
Good evening, County Executive Stenger, members of the council. My name is Barbara Ann Hughes. I live at 101 Hawthorne Estates, Town and Country, 63131. I'm here this evening to speak against the killing of deer in our county parks. According to the USDA, deer numbers may drop after a kill, but population can quickly, they call it the bounce back effect. When deer numbers are reduced after a killing program, the remaining does will often respond to a greater abundance of available food by having twins or triplets. To be successful, a killing program must not only significantly reduce the deer herd, but it must also prevent the bounce back effect and prevent deer from surrounding areas from wandering in. It is my understanding that sterilized does contribute to a placement effect, which hinders outside deer from that wandering in. Salon, Ohio is a perfect example of the bounce back effect. The community ceased killing deer and the number of deer went right back up through the roof. Killing deer will not protect gardens. Even if killing deer could reduce the population, even if killing deer could reduce the population to a low level, hostas and other plants would still be eaten by the remaining deer. Unfortunately, killing deer will not stop deer car accidents. Studies have shown that reducing the deer population does not necessarily reduce the number of deer car collisions. Many factors contribute to deer vehicle collisions: traffic volume, speed limits, roads bisecting migration routes. So what does work? Consider administering public surveys to define and assess, the first thing, the nature of the problem. Number two, the scope of the problem and location of a particular problem area. Work with stakeholders to tailor solutions to specific sites. And in conclusion, please consider establishing a working group to review all methods of deer management, including non-lethal. Implement a strategic deer management program in cooperation with the Missouri Department of Conservation. Collect data, evaluate the data to ascertain whether deer mitigation strategies are effective. I'm willing to help you. I'm willing to work with you on this. And my offer still stands. If you want to sterilize deer, I'll be happy to pay for the first one. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Bonnie Boyme.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Bonnie Boyme. I'm currently serving as the Vice President of the St. Louis Animal Rights Team. We have over 1,000 supporters in St. Louis County, and I'm speaking on their behalf to ask you to please vote no on Bill number 45 to allow bow hunting of deer in St. Louis County parks. According to the bill's language, the rationale behind it is supposed to be in the interest of public safety. Bow hunting, however, does not do anything to protect the safety of the people in St. Louis County. It, in fact, only makes the situation worse. As Ms. Hughes stated, hunted populations reproduce faster. There's not one instance where communities have employed lethal methods to manage their deer populations where they can consider the problem solved and stop the killing. The killing necessitates more killing, and the people of St. Louis County do not want this violence in their parks, in their neighborhoods, and in their backyards. Hunters, on the other hand, love the opportunity to shoot trusting, habituated animals. Policies like these are more about recreation than conservation, and certainly not about public safety. The Association of Insurance has stated that deer car collisions dramatically increase during hunting season. Pro-hunting organizations say that in the best case scenario, an ethical shot with a bow on a deer kills the deer within 30 minutes. That's a long time for an animal to suffer, and that's the best case scenario. A shot to the liver can take 4 to 6 agonizing hours for the deer to die. Less precise shots, the animals can suffer for hours, days, or weeks before succumbing to infection or blood loss. And these animals are not going to stay put. These county parks are surrounded by communities, and these animals are going to wander into people's yards with bows in them. Sometimes they will be tracked by hunters, so then you have a situation where somebody might be shooting an animal in somebody's backyard, even if the property owner doesn't want this happening on their property. There are just too many instances where this can be a threat to public safety. It is cruel, and worst of all, it's ineffective. It will not solve the problem. I talked to Mr. Fitch, and the main advantage to the bow hunting that I can see is that it's free. It doesn't cost anything. Well, this is a case where you just get what you pay for. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Zaki Baruti.
Good evening. My name is Zaki Baruti. I'm representing the Universal African Peoples Organization. And before I begin, I extend my deepest condolences to the loss of your child. And in the rear, there's another mother who lost her child through, I call it wickedness of some police officers who caused a fatal crash. To that end, in terms of speaking to social justice, as you know, we've been here ever since the deaths of Mikael Neal and Townsend Woodfork. And we've been advocating for a proactive solution to what we consider many instances of police violence that need to be investigated, to the level of creating a civilian oversight board, which each of you should have copies of. I'm here as an extension of the last meeting I was here, where I was calling upon you in the spirit of Dr. King, whose assassination date is 2 days from here, on April the 4th, to be proactive, because we know all across America the issues of police, and especially the black community, is very tense many times. So we have put before you a package that has of a proposal that's similar to the proposal that was adopted in the city of St. Louis. And I'm here again, and we'll continually advocate that you do the right thing. And what is the right thing? We're simply asking you to put this on the ballot for the citizens of St. Louis County to make a decision as to whether or not to have a civilian oversight board. That's supposed to be part of democracy. Just a simple vote, up or down. So again, I'm advocating that. And I'm advocating, and I know there's a thing about we may not have 5 votes to not override, to be able to override a veto or what have you. We're saying that we're asking for you to be a shero or a hero based on the principles of Dr. King and many others, to stand up and do the right thing. All we're asking, again, I want to reemphasize, is that you do the right thing and put to the public the ability to make a decision as to whether or not to implement civilian oversight board. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Nicole Dawsey.
Good evening. Nicole Dawsey, the Executive Director of NCADA. We are located at 9355 Olive. Again, this is a little bit of a pivot from the previous speaker. I want to just take the time to tell you, Councilman Tracus, that we greatly appreciate the amended language to Bill 270 that increases penalties for those who sell vaping and other electronic nicotine devices to teens. That is huge, so thank you for that amended language. We do remain concerned, however, about the language in the sub-bill that criminalizes anyone under the age of 21 who possesses nicotine products and the parents who drive onto campus with a vape or a cigarette in their car. We are also concerned that the substitute bill implements fines on young people. Both of those things we remain strongly opposed to. However, as I said before, we appreciate the amended language increasing penalties for the sellers. That's huge. We do encourage all of the council members to look and consider the DPH, the Department of Public Health's substitute bill. We believe it strikes a really strong balance between ensuring that schools have a mechanism to enforce their own policies, increases penalties against those people who sell, and restricts sales from school zones. It really increases the distance from which you're allowed to sell tobacco products. We feel that the absolute strongest possible legislation would include the sample possession and distance related language from DPH paired with, Councilman Tracus, your increased penalty language. And that goes farther than we've ever seen. That type of legislation would have NCADA's broadest support. And I just appreciate the opportunity to stand up here yet again and say thank you for paying attention to this issue that schools and parents are clamoring that somebody pay attention to. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Next speaker is Judith Schneider.
Hello again. I'm Judith Schneider, and I live in Crestwood, Missouri. I talked to some of you a little earlier about compassion and compassionate care. And it seems like, from what I'm hearing tonight, that we need to implement compassion as our agenda. I want to express my sympathy to you. I'm so sorry. You break my heart. And along those lines, I'm asking you also to please vote no on Bill 45. Bow hunting's ineffective and dangerous and cruel. It's ineffective in that, as Ms. Hughes articulated, hunted populations reproduce faster. It's dangerous. St. Louis County parks are in residential neighborhoods. Having bow hunters in there when kids are around, there's just no skill requirement for these hunters, and they are chosen by a lottery system. To me, that seems like a very scary situation for the residents. Unskilled hunters will be shooting around and essentially in people's backyards. And along those lines, in 2011, Margaret Schnuffner, an 80-year-old St. John's woman, was struck through the face by a stray arrow while eating a chocolate donut in her kitchen table. Her neighbor was practicing his archery skills. Arrows can't be controlled, is my point. Once they leave that bow, there's no controlling them. So we deserve safety in our neighborhoods and peace of mind. And along those lines, car accidents, as Ms. Boyne has suggested, actually increase during hunting season. And also, she effectively spoke to the idea that it's cruel. They have a 50% crippling rate, leaving animals to suffer for hours, days, and weeks, often dying of blood loss or infection. Sterilization is the only real solution, and our nonprofit community will raise funds to help you pay for it. So please hit me up. That's a solutionist here.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Kitty Radcliffe.
Page, members of the council, county executive, I just want to say thank you for your time this afternoon. I appreciate your due diligence, and we're going to continue to work with you in this next week to make sure we get some substitute language ready for your consideration next week. Thank you so much.
Final speaker this evening is Reverend Phil Duval.
Good evening, Mr. County Executive and the council. I stand in support of this weeping mother, this grieving mother. I want to thank all of you for your comments in response to what she said. A couple of things, Councilwoman Clancy, is we'll be talking to the Clayton Police Chief tomorrow. An update from the medical examiner, who has told me that it takes on average 8 weeks to get a toxicology report back. That's what I'm being told right now of what the holdup is. a toxicology report when this young man has been in the possession of the county jail for 11 months. I don't know what possibly could be in his system that requires a toxicology report that's holding up and damming up talking to this mother. We're requesting, and I'm going to apologize with this disclaimer first. We are planning to meet with the director, but I suggested not be in her building. There's a lack of trust. So we're going to ask that a conversation be held with her on a neutral territory, not in that building. And I'll explain with you, with those. I did reach out to your office today on her behalf. So you've already covered in your comments what our concerns are. The timing, Councilman Member Tracus, the timing of this, because here's where we're still believing that this body, from the county executive to all of you, have access to what those procedures are. And they need to be cleared up what those procedures are. That's not part of the investigation. And then we have additional information that we're wanting to talk to you privately that may give us some insight as to what went on in that jail in the 3 weeks prior to him passing away. So there's a trust issue. Nothing against the county counselor, but there's a trust issue. How we're going to ask for transparency on the same system that is holding back. So we will have conversations relatively very soon as to what it is we propose to help resolve this in a timely manner. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Natasha True.
Hello, Flora. I'm Natasha Troop. I'm Lamar Catchings' aunt. But not only am I his aunt, I'm the aunt of every inmate that's in there. Because I'm looking at and I listen to everybody that has to speak. And I hear that y'all got rules for animals, but there is no rules for the humans. I hear that we need to protect the deer or protect people in backyards, but when are we going to protect the people? We have inmates that are suffering. Not only are they dying, they're suffering. We have inmates right now that are going through, as you all sit here and ask Ms. Childry 100 of questions, but did y'all ask the question that they're mistreating the inmates that have told about their mistreatment? Have Ms. Childry addressed anybody beyond saying that it's protocol? Nobody's gave us protocol or lined up what the protocol is. Ms. Childry stated that she's willing to talk. I myself has called Ms. Childry's office, the medical examiner's office, Wesley Bell's office. I've been calling all offices with no answers. I talked to Detective Truitt at the county department station. Still no answers. You tell me that it takes 8 weeks to get a toxicology, but if I was drunk or on drugs and you needed one tonight, I'm going to get it and you're going to get it from me. So tell me what is taking 8 weeks besides a cover-up. We talked about young men. We're not talking about people dying of diabetes because they was already too far along or heart attack, unhelped. But you telling me that y'all protocol sitting up here is to hire people with no empathy and obviously no training. Ms. Childry sits back there to keep saying that it's protocol and no deaths happened last year to our knowledge because it's a secret in this society called the jail system. So when is it going to be fair to the people? Y'all talking about the money here that needs to be spent on making St. Louis County and St. Louis City one? When are y'all going to take that same money that y'all are reaping from the jail system to help these inmates? When are y'all going to get nurses and doctors on duty? You supposed to have 60, but y'all can't even pay 30. So that's the lack of care that we're receiving. But you're locking us up for traffic tickets. You're holding us 2 years for felonies that we may didn't commit.
But we can't get no care while we're there. Not only has Mr. Shy, Mr. Catchy, Mr. Reeves, and a bunch of other inmates been violated. Now I want you to put yourself in their shoes and imagine it's your nephew, it's your son, and it's your daughter. But y'all can't, because y'all sit there and handling what she said and taking it as word. It's not word. It's something needs to be done, and it's something needs to be done right now. They're treating us like animals inside the jail. But here we talking about deer that's free to go.
It's 3 minutes, Mr. Chair.
So I'm gonna leave it at that.
It's true. I have a nephew who was incarcerated, who had a heart attack, who died in jail. And I can relate to what you're saying. What I always said is he hurt himself because he was using heroin. That's why he was in jail.
But that's not right.
They didn't have the same, should I say, programs and whatever back then for my nephew like they have now for young people who are on the opioids and whatever. He died of a heart attack. It was my opinion that he was not sentenced to death. He was incarcerated for hurting himself. He didn't hurt anybody else. So I can relate to what you're saying. I think we should not always assume that we're the only ones in a predicament or something's happened to. I sympathize with you greatly, I do. But
I don't say this. I'm talking to the world. I'm talking to people. Y'all understand. But why isn't the care just because they're locked up?
right, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. He was not sentenced to death. He went in there for whatever, I don't know, but he was not sentenced to death, and that's what happened.
But they are not judge, jury, and
I'm sorry.
they can't run with judge, jury, and
Larry Remus died from withdrawing from alcohol in the county jail. That's because you're an alcoholic, you deserve to die. You got arrested. No. There's no treatment.
Not a control.
Right.
Yes.
Vomiting blood, there's multiple cases, multiple.
Earlier,
These are treatable illnesses. All of them.
we had a hearing earlier about the animal control facility here in the county. And I'm glad to hear the lady from the city speak about compassion, because I wanted to mention that I seriously did when we had our meeting earlier, that we have to have compassion for people and animals and human beings, which are people, of course. But they talked about the animals being in cages for 23 hours, and I thought about, well, what about the people in jail, in prison, who are in jail and for 23 and 24 hours? And they talked about what happens to an animal when he's treated like that. And I thought about, what about a human who's treated like that? And I was sad, and I didn't want to say anything because I didn't want to appear to not care about animals, because I do. I don't like to see anything hurt. I don't support that deer bill, because I can't imagine shooting an arrow through an animal. I know people hunt and whatever, but I can't. It's just something I can't fathom. And like she said, people in jail across the street from here may or may not be guilty. They have to stay there because they can't afford a bond. They may be not guilty, or like she said, had a traffic ticket. They may be on drugs, alcoholics. They hurting themselves, not really hurting anyone else. And I know we're going beyond the scope of what our purpose here is today, but I had to say it because it's on my heart, and it's sad. We have to care about everybody. Everybody is the same. I don't care how much money you make or what color you are. We have to treat everybody wherever you are, take you where you are, and do what we can. I appreciate our animal, the people who speak for animals, and I appreciate the green people for the parks here. And I was like, I'm glad they do that, because I can't do things like that. I'm not like that. I'm kind of, introverted. But we have to find ways to change the jail system. I'm a staunch supporter of criminal justice reform. I don't believe in bills that have penalties. We have enough reasons to put people in prison. I don't believe in voting for those bills when I was in the legislature. So I'm gonna stop. I know I talk, and I get a chance, but I don't do that often. I don't talk often. So I just wanna stop there, but whatever we can do, I would like to see what we can do and try to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I too am compelled to speak. I don't necessarily agree that this body has to wait until the conclusion of anybody's investigation to start digging into this. Be that as it may, it seems to me that there is nothing inhibiting this council, either Mr. Harder's committee or mine, from taking a preliminary look at the processes, procedures, and operations at the Justice Center with respect to the treatment of inmates, particularly with regard to health care. Got nothing to do with the investigation. We can start that within 2 weeks.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay. That concludes the public forum. Please proceed with introduction of bills.
Bill number 80, introduced by Councilmember Erby, an ordinance authorizing the county executive to execute a fuel sales contract with the city of Anita Park. Bill number 81, introduced by Councilmember Page, an ordinance approving acceptance of annual donations of up to $100,000 from the St. Louis Police Foundation, depositing same for support of the police cadet program. Bill number 82, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance appropriating the amount of $45,357 of Proposition P funds from the unappropriated balance of the general fund and transferring those funds as authorized for the support of the Department of County Municipal Court. Bill number 83, introduced by Councilmembers Tracus and Harder, an ordinance amending Chapter 302, Title 3, St. Louis County Revised Ordinances 1974 as amended budget by repealing and reenacting Section 304.400 relating to the funds distributed to St. Louis County pursuant to Proposition P, a countywide half-cent sales tax related to police and public safety, adopted by the voters of St. Louis County on April 4th, 2017. Bill number 84, introduced by Councilmember Fitch, an ordinance appropriating the amount of $2,278,203 of Proposition P funds from the unappropriated balance of the general fund for the support of the cost of police recruits to attend the county and municipal police academy and vehicle replacement for the St. Louis County Police Department. Bill number 85, introduced by Councilmember Tracus, an ordinance amending ordinance number 26,996 as amended by repealing and reenacting Section 3 pertaining to PC 43-17 Leda Ventures 2 LLC. Mr. Chair, that is all the bills.
Perfection.
Bill number 270, introduced by Councilmember Wassinger for Councilmember Tracus.
Mr. Chair, I have a substitute bill that's been noted. That bill was introduced again to incorporate some of the suggestions by the Department of Health, and also for my colleagues to review it and consider additional revisions as it strikes them. So I'd like to hold this on the agenda if possible.
Okay, bill number 270 will be held.
Thank you.
Bill number 17, introduced by Councilmember Fitch.
Please hold on the order of business.
Bill number 17 will be held.
Bill number 20, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
Please hold bill number 20.
Bill number 20 will be held.
Bill number 21, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
We'll hold, and I want to ask for a hearing on a committee of the whole on that one.
Okay, we'll get a hearing scheduled at a future date, and we'll hold bill number 21.
Bill number 35, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Please hold on the agenda. Bill number 35 will be held.
Bill number 72, introduced by Councilmember Fitch.
This is the bill that would submit to the voters of St. Louis County to amend the charter that would basically remove the deputization privilege that the superintendent of police has for the Washington University Police Department and the Airport Police Department. I had a meeting with the Chancellor of Washington University, Dr. Wrighton, and I've had multiple conversations with the airport director and they talked about how important their local police departments were to them, their airport police and their Washington University police, and that they would like to keep their own police departments, which is the same argument that all of the municipalities that have their own police departments are making today regarding the Better Together plan. I'm confident, based on those conversations with them. Plus, Dr. Wrighton also mentioned that Washington University was setting up a special committee to look at the Better Together plan to see what its pros and cons will be. So I was very encouraged by that. So based on all that, I'd like to drop Bill 72 from the order of business.
72 will be dropped.
Bill number 76, introduced by Councilmember Tracus. Mr. Chair, we have a substitute bill.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to hold the substitute bill, this along with Bill 82 and 83. Again, it's part of the discussion regarding Prop P and the attempt to define public safety. So what I'd like to do in the near future is hold a committee of the whole on all three bills as they are related and companions in a sense. So for now, I'd just like to hold this bill.
Okay, bill number 76 will be held.
Bill number 77, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to perfect bill number 77.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 77 is perfected.
Bill number 78, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
I move to perfect Bill number 78.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Bill number 78 is perfected.
Bill number 79, introduced by Councilmember Tracus.
Please hold on the order of business.
Bill number 79 will be held. Final passage.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 28, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move for final passage of substitute bill number 1 for bill number 28.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
I do have reservations, but I'm gonna, since it's just the airport police, go ahead and vote for aye.
Councilmember Clancy?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Chair, on substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 28, there are 7 ayes.
Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 28 is finally passed.
Substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 45, introduced by Councilmember Fitch.
I'd just like to note before I move on this one is to remind everybody there was a substitute for this, and the substitute allowed for the council to decide whether or not they want to allow a archery hunt in a county park specifically. So in other words, if you don't want one in your district, you don't have to have one. So I just wanted to remind everyone of that addition to the bill. So based on that, I move for final passage of substitute Bill 1 for Bill number 45.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
No.
Councilmember Page?
No.
Councilmember Fitch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
No.
Councilmember Clancy?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
No.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on substitute Bill number 1 for Bill number 45, there are 4 noes and 3 ayes.
Substitute bill number 1 for bill number 45 has failed. Finally passed.
Bill number 70, introduced by Councilmember Page.
Move to hold bill number 70. We'll take all of these supplemental appropriations as a package. There are several to discuss, but I hope we can process them in the next week. And bill number 70 will be held.
Bill number 73, introduced by Councilmember Page for Councilmember Erby.
Bill number 73 is for the America Center. We had a hearing today and got additional information, suggestions for to include in the language of the bill. I feel confident that once we tweak it and add those things in there, that we'll be able to move it forward probably next week. So with that, I move to hold Bill 73.
So number 73 will be held.
Moving on to resolutions, Mr. Chair, we have 5 this evening. Resolution number 1, introduced by Councilmember Erby.
Tim Morgan,
Yes.
could you please read that?
Yes, ma'am. Resolution, whereas Marvin Penns Gay was born April 2nd, 1939 in Washington DC and would have been 80 years old on April 2nd, 2019. And whereas Marvin Gaye began singing in church at 4 years of age and started composing while singing with the Marquis and working with singer Bo Diddley. And whereas Marvin Gaye possessed a 4-octave vocal range and was first a jazz singer who switched to R&B and whose music impacted a global world. And whereas Marvin Gaye helped to shape the Motown sound, first as a session player and later as a solo artist. And whereas Marvin Gaye was a singer, songwriter, and record producer who found success as a co-writer of the Marvelettes' hit Beachwood 4-5789, his first solo hit was Stubborn Kind of Fellow in 1962, and went on to have a string of hits, including How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You, I'll Be Doggone, and Ain't It Peculiar, which became million record sellers. And whereas Marvin Gaye had hit duets with Kim Weston, Mary Wells, and Tammy Terrell, and whereas Marvin Gaye sang the national anthem during Game 4 of the 1968 World Series between the Detroit Tigers and the St. Louis Cardinals, and whereas Marvin Gaye was profoundly affected by social events such as the 1965 Watts riots, the Vietnam War, issues of police brutality, drug abuse, environmental issues, Black Power issues, the 1967 race riots in Detroit and the Kent State shooting. And whereas Marvin Gaye's protest album, What's Going On, was a first in both Motown and R&B music history to be composed in a song cycle, segueing previous songs into each other songs, giving the album a more cohesive feel, and influenced recording artists such as Stevie Wonder and Barry White, and whose album covers showcase the photographic talent of photographer Jim Hendon. And whereas Marvin Gaye's What's Going On album has been regarded as a classic of 1970s soul and is one of the greatest albums and landmark recordings in popular music and 6th in the Rolling Stones list of 500 greatest albums of all time. And whereas the United States Postal Service, in collaboration with St. Louis artists, will honor the Motown legend in the first subsequent unveiling of the Marvin Gaye Penn's Forever stamp on April 3rd, 2019 in St. Louis, Missouri. Now therefore be it resolved by the County Council of St. Louis County, Missouri as follows. Section 1, the County Council encourages all members of the St. Louis community to join the celebration of a history-making artist and social activist whose music inspired and impacted generations of people worldwide.
Thank you, Jen. I move to adopt resolution number 1.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
I know why you said second, Ernie. We both like Marvin Gaye, so.
I'm a huge Marvin Gaye fan, and just so everybody knows, I'm myself, Washington DC, born and raised, so, anyway.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Do we have to sing one of the songs now?
Please
You
don't.
wish we let you sing tonight.
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on Resolution 1, I is also a big fan. Happy to report that the vote is 7 ayes.
Resolution number 1 is adopted.
Resolution number 2, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move for adoption of resolution number 2.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on Resolution number 2, there are 7 ayes.
Resolution number 2 is adopted.
Resolution number 3, introduced by Councilmember Clancy.
I move for adoption of resolution number 3.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on Resolution number 3, there are 7 ayes.
Resolution number 3 is adopted.
Resolution number 4, introduced by Councilmember Harder.
I move to adopt resolution number 4.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on Resolution number 4, there are 7 ayes.
Resolution number 4 is adopted.
Resolution number 5, introduced by Councilmember Walton Gray.
I move for the adoption of resolution number 5.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Erby?
Aye.
Councilmember Page?
Aye.
Councilmember Fitch?
Aye.
Councilmember Gray?
Aye.
Councilmember Clancy?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracus?
Aye.
Councilmember Harder?
Aye.
Mr. Chair, on Resolution number 5, there are 7 ayes.
Resolution number 5 is adopted.
Moving on to unfinished business, Mr. Chair, item number 1.
Please hold on the order of business. Same motion for item number 2, and that will be the order.
Item number 3, third district.
Hold on the order of business.
So ordered.
Item number 4, sixth district.
Receive and file, please.
So ordered.
And moving on to new business, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chair, for a
Yes.
moment, please. I think item number 4 should be dropped as that bill's been introduced now. I've requested legislation on that, I believe, tonight. So I think that needs to be dropped.
I think that still receive and file it for the record, Mr.
Okay. As long as we understand that the legislation is still going to be prepared.
Okay. Thanks.
And moving on to new business, Mr. Chair, we have 2 prepared orders.
I move for adoption of orders number 1 and 2.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Orders 1 and 2 are adopted. Jen, if you can go back to resolutions, the resolution regarding the CVC can be dropped. We addressed this with the legislation that we've already passed.
Okay, we will remove that from the agenda, Mr. Chair.
Comments by any council members?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Adjourned.